Hello, Shoyan here. This is a new site where I'll be doing an addition and renovation. The area is small, so there's no need to have anything pre-cut. First, I'll cut the timber myself in my workshop, then start building from there. In this project, I'll be extending the household altar room, just expanding it a bit.
これなんでこんな色ちゃうの？
でこれがほらすり直すまでこれが一回第三の下にこれジャーンと走らせて
じゃあこれ
は
削ったらこれになるの？
おおこれ削ったらこれに
Pre-cutting requires drawing up plans, sending them to the mill for processing, and then dealing with all the back and forth. Since I'll be framing on site, I figured it'd be faster to just mark and cut everything myself. I do want large-sized timber, but since I'll be joining the timber by hand, if it's too heavy, it'll be a real pain. So I'm using dry timber that's right at the limit of what I can lift. Up until about 30 years ago, I used to do all the planing with this electric hand planer. Just for one house, you'd go through about 100 pieces like this. Every day, day in and day out, I was shaping timber with another hand planer. That's when I got my hands on this big electric planer. And now, I only use it once every few years. Feels more like a collector's item these days. But back then, I really used this heavy planer almost every day.
あっちに明かりがあるってことはようわかるやろ
I have to plane with the same precision as a jointer and planer using this electric hand planer. Get it flat, get the edges square, can't have any unevenness. But once you get the hang of it, you can use even this kind of tool pretty smoothly.
で1本
大工が手入れするとこんだけかかるいいの位置からいいの
これ手書きの図面？
あして書くんかい
そういう意味じゃねえ。
Now I'm doing some layout marking. It's been a while. Before that, I checked the wood's quirks to decide the best way to use each piece.
ね、このタイミングに癖を見極めるってこと？
うんっていうか上は下は見てな荷重に対しては癖を作ったらんと
あ、これ柱じゃないの？
これは土台、土台は基礎の上に乗るんよで両端を大体は絶対押さえるからこれは下がりに使うんやなよっしゃ
何これ何これ
うわーバッて書いてあるバンバッて
For the marking, I start from the sills, then the beams on the second floor perimeter, the beams parallel to the ridge, and the purlins. Then the vertical members, the first floor columns, second floor columns, and full height columns. I go through all the horizontals first, then all the verticals, one direction at a time. That's the usual way we carpenters mark things. Nowadays, we make it easier with aluminum measuring rods and even use ballpoint pens instead of sumisashi. If the surface is smooth and dry, honestly, a ballpoint works just fine. And if you're working with standardized lumber that's accurately milled and not warped, there's no need to mark a center line. Back in the day, if you had a long board milled, the width would be different on each end. So we'd mark a center line and take all our measurements from that. That's why marking the center line was essential. But now, you just don't need it anymore. This time, all the columns are the same length. So I line them up on a long sawhorse, then mark and cut them. It'll all be done at once. That wraps up the marking. Now I move on to the joinery cuts. This machine here is called an Arikama Hozotori. The name sounds a bit odd, but it handles most of the joint cutting. I haven't used it in years, so the oil has dried out and the shafts won't move. I'm trying to oil it, but it's so cold that the oil won't even come out.
Kattai.
なんか筋トレしとるみたいな。
どうや、俺2本つけてほら。
There's no particular order for joinery cuts, so I start with whatever's in front. I'm starting by cutting the tenons for these columns. This machine's got power. It cuts straight through in one go, and it moves freely in all directions, so it's pretty easy to handle. It's my favorite cutting tool. For the column tenons, I cut large chamfers. Modern pre-cut tenons usually have small chamfers, so even if the mortise is the same size, getting the fit right can be tough. And of course, I write the joint numbers on each piece. That's standard practice. Since there will be a lintel, I make sure to notch the columns for that properly as well. I can cut the dovetail in one go with the same Arikama Hozotori. But for the dovetail slot side, I switch to a dado router. This one can cut not only dados, but also dovetail slots since it can work at an angle. When this tool first came out and I used it for the first time, I was really amazed at how useful it is. It spins but still makes a clean diagonal cut. It's such a handy tool. I have an announcement here. Shoyan handmade cutting boards are back on sale. There's a wood you'll find in every exclusive sushi restaurant in Japan. Hinoki cypress. Steeped in centuries of tradition, it's the wood master chef's trust. Japanese hinoki is naturally antibacterial and incredibly resilient, protecting your finest knives from chipping. But the true secret is the kana, the Japanese hand plane. It seals the wood fibers to create a silk-like glow and natural water resistance that sandpaper can't achieve. By popular demand, we've optimized our logistics, and we're finally ready to ship directly to the US and worldwide. Each piece handcrafted with heart by Carpenter Shoyan. Scan the QR code to order now. It was just a small amount of timber, but now the joinery cuts are done. I head to the site to install the sill. As I mentioned at the beginning, Only this section of the foundation will be added on, 3 meters square. That's the main part of this project. The whole thing started because the homeowner wanted a room for their household altar. First, I snap reference lines on the foundation. For additions, the key is lining everything up with the existing building. It has 120mm columns, so I'm using the same size. But the house is built on a meter module, so it's fairly spacious. The existing house has foundation vent openings, but for this addition, I'm only using sill gaskets with no openings. Of course, they're the kind that still let air through. And it turns out the total vent area is actually larger than with foundation vent openings. I've never calculated the airflow myself though. And this way, the foundation stays stronger because vent openings always seem to be where cracks start. I had them install the bolts in sets of 3. But when I went to drill the holes, I accidentally brought the old set of bits. Since they were dull and useless, I used an impact driver instead, which I'd never tried before. Turns out, if the bit is sharp, it actually works just fine. Some folks use concrete nails or screws to secure the foundation gaskets, but I don't think that's necessary. You can cut right through the gaskets with a handsaw. They feel soft, but they're made from reinforced plastic and can handle tons of pressure. Really handy material. Next, I strip off the metal siding where the addition will connect. I can't take it all the way up to the top, so I measure the height and cut it to match the new roof line. But cutting to the exact roof height from the start down to the millimeter is tricky. Since the sheet metal worker will make the final cut later, I leave some margin and just go at it roughly. For now, I'm just getting it peeled back. Pulling off metal siding is never fun. It's better than putting it on, but it's really scary because you can cut your hands real quick. As long as I don't touch the cut edge, I'm okay. But if I did, even with gloves on, I'd be bleeding in no time. The important thing is that once I grab it, I should never let go. And when I do let go, I let go fast. I think that's the best way to handle it. I can't exactly call in the sheet metal worker just for this section, so I'm glad I got through it. There will be a doorway on the right side where I peeled off the metal siding. Since I'll be removing the diagonal brace there, I reinforce the left side with structural panels. That makes this section a little stronger, and that's where it ends up. If I don't install these panels now, I won't be able to nail them once the addition goes up. So I'm putting them in ahead of time. Just these two for now. Now, the timber preparation for the addition, a bit of dismantlement, and the sill installation are all done. I can now start framing anytime. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.